Can you ever have too many perler beads? I don't think so. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and it's Monday, and it's January the 8th, 2018, and this is vlog number 52. And this marks 1 year of vlogs that I've been doing. So, milestone there, I guess. Anyways, I hope you've got a cup of coffee this morning and settled in, because this is going to be a longer vlog for a variety of reasons. I have a lot of things to show you and tell you, and I've also got a new feature that I want to make a regular kind of thing on my vlog channel here. So let's get right into it, because we've got a ton of things. As you can see in my opening little teaser that the perler beads arrived. Well, they arrived, and also the 22,000 bucket that I ordered. Walter has finally finished sorting out. He has the patience of a saint. I could not do it. I would go stir crazy. And I think he now has recommended that we never ever get buckets of multicolored perler beads again. Only order them by the package of solid colors. And yeah, if you saw how much time it took him to sort those out, you would agree. So let's move on. What other little projects have I been working on? Well, I've been working on a lot of little things. I made a faux leather journal. Now, this is Cricut faux leather, but I sewed this. And actually, I saw the plan for this on a YouTube channel called Man Sewing, which I don't know if I've ever reviewed his website or not, or his YouTube channel or not, but I probably should, because I've learned a lot from him. This isn't really a new concept or design. I've done these kind of journals before, but I've never really actually sewn them. And I was interested in what the faux leather from Cricut would be like. And it works really well. Inside, I have a pocket in both the front and in the back, and those are all sewn in, as I said. This is actually two sheets, two different colors of faux leather. The outside's a brown, the inside is this kind of reddy brown. And just took some blank cardstock, punched some holes, put this cord through it, goes through the binding, very simple. And the thing is, you could undo this. You could undo this knot that's here to add more pages or take pages out too. So I made it. I don't have any specific purpose for it. The strap, you can see, goes around it, holds it closed. I'm thinking of taking it with me to Australia to write down a few things and whatnot. I have another journal that I was going to use for that has more color and things like that in it. It's that one I made with the whimsical creatures from Crafty Hodges. And I showed you that on a previous vlog, a couple of vlogs ago. But I might take this. I don't know. Or maybe I'll take both. Who knows? But anyways, this was fun to do and really fast. Really fast. Okay, let's put that to the side. What else? Okay, don't laugh, okay, at this, but you know that I'm getting into quilting. And I'm going to talk more about getting into quilting a little later on and show you some other things. But I decided to do my first block. This is my first block. Now, at first look on video, it doesn't look too bad. It's a 9-block patch. The blocks themselves came out, I think, pretty good. The back looks pretty good too. Where this falls apart is with binding, okay? I have never done binding before, and well, I did do binding on that large wall hanging that I showed you some time ago with the applique butterflies, but I didn't miter the corners, and this time I want to learn how to miter the corners. I did learn how to miter the corners. My big problem was, this was the third binding I put on this, and my stitching isn't too straight. In fact, I tried to cover that up by doing a zigzag over the straight stitch. Not very successful, and it's uneven and that kind of thing. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I have learned about this when I come to new products and things like that, because I have, since I made this about a week ago, I've gotten better, I think. But this was just a practice piece just to see what I could do with it, and actually make a great pot holder, I guess, big enough for it. So that was one experiment, and you know, I like to share with you not just my successes, but I'll share my failures as well, because we can all learn from the failures. What else did I do? I decided to do some collage papers because I saw a video, a YouTube video, where they were concentrating on using only one product to make collage papers for painted backgrounds. And I thought, yeah, actually that's not a bad idea, because you know, so often when I do collage papers, I will use every product I have in the house. And that can be fun, but it can also lead to some disastrous outcomes, some muddy, you know, paper. So what I did was I got out some newsprint and my Dylusion paints, because I haven't used my Dylusion paints in a while, and I just concentrated on using the Dylusion paints to create these. I did it on a great big sheet, and then I just, for storing purposes, before I use these, I just cut them up into 4 sheets about 8 by 10 in size. And I think it turned out pretty good. Now, I did make a video of this, and I've got the video linked below. And you will see that I had a few moments where things were a little disastrous. I ripped the paper, and you'll see how I fixed that up using masking tape and whatnot. But I like making collage papers. They're a lot of fun to do because really it doesn't take a lot of thought. It doesn't take a lot of equipment. And it's just very, very creative and very relaxing. So do check out that video. What else? Okay, last week I also showed you my agenda, my planner, whatever you want to call it. And I thought I'd show you what it looks like after I've done a week in it. Now, I'm just slapping down elements into the page, no rhyme or reason to them, basically to use up some of my stash of stuff like washi tape and stickers that I seldom use. And this is sort of the end product of last week. And I decided to keep notes as well. These are my shopping lists, things I want to do, projects lists, and this kind of thing inserted in here. And I even recorded the weather for some days and things like that, and other little notes. I put the weather down here. Basically, the weather this week can be summed up in one word: cold. Very, very cold. And as I look out my window right now, I think it's gotten warmer, but it's snowing now. Well, it's Canada. It happens. Snow happens. So anyways, that was last week. This is going to be this week. Now you see I don't have much in this yet. I set up the page the other day. I just threw down some stickers again and things I had laying around and my cards, and as notes or thoughts, the things come to my mind, they will go in here. So really, although this is an agenda, you know, what I've got coming up, what I've got to do and things like that, when the year is over with, this little agenda is basically a form of an art journal in a sense. So that's what I'm trying for anyways. We'll see how long I can keep this up. I always have an agenda. That's not a problem. But it's adding all these other little things I got to get more into the habit of doing. So we'll see how that goes. But I thought you might be interested in just seeing how something like this works. I know there's tons of videos out there about using planners and all kinds of different schemes. This is my scheme. So you have to pick one that works for you. Okay. So those were some of the projects I've been working on this week. And now I want to take you to the YouTube channel of the week. And this is one reason why this video is going to be a little longer than usual, because after you have seen this, I'm going to propose to you something I would like us to do. But this is MissPurplePotato, Jody. Jody and I have been communicating via email. And on Stephen and Walter Live, those of you that join that probably have met Jody on there. She's a lady from Colorado. And she has her own channel as well. And she does some really wonderful scrapbooking pages and other forms of crafty art as well that I find very inspiring. And I just think it's nice that when you sort of know somebody, to be able to see their YouTube channel showcasing what they've created. I think that's great. We'll talk more about that after you've seen this video. This week's YouTube channel is by a lady that goes by the name MissPurplePotato. This is a lady that I've gotten to know through emails and through our discussions on Stephen and Walter Live, and I decided that I think I should review her YouTube channel. Now, when I approached her and asked her if it would be okay if I did review this, she was a little hesitant because she doesn't really consider herself a YouTube channel creator, but she is. And she is an extraordinary, that's the word I want, scrapbooker. Her scrapbooks are beautiful, and her philosophy behind the scrapbooks is very nice as well, because really she captures the essence of why we do scrapbooking. She just put up a video flipping through 60 layouts, and you've got to see this video. I've put the link below for her channel, and you'll find this is one of her newest uploads, but it's well worth the watch. Not only are her pages beautiful and well crafted, but they are inspiring. They really get the juices flowing, and they make me want to get back into doing some more scrapbook layouts, something that I've let sort of drift away as I've pursued other interests over time. I am going to talk a little bit more about MissPurplePotato in my next segment here on my vlog, but for now you can find the link to MissPurplePotato in my link section in the comment section below, and I strongly recommend that you check them out because you will not be disappointed. Okay, so the link to MissPurplePotato's YouTube channel is listed below, and I want to talk a little bit more about a new idea I have for my vlog. Now, what I'm going to suggest to you is that we start creating more of a community on this vlog. We have one going right now, but I often think it's one way. You listen to me every week and I talk about my life and my stuff. And I'm going to continue to do that because you seem to be interested in that. But I'm interested in knowing more about you. There's a lot of subscribers to my YouTube channel that are regulars here on my vlog every week. And so I want to get to know you. So I'm going to put this out, and I'm going to put these questions down in the comment box below. But what I'd like to do is profile you. Talk about who you are, if you will allow me to. And in order to do that, if you would send me an email, and my email address is at the end of my videos, but it's really easy. It's Steven Bland, Steven with a V, S-T-E-V-E-N, and Bland, B-L-A-N-D. Yes, if you didn't know, that is my last name. Sort of ironic, I guess. So it's Steven Bland, all lowercase, at simpatico.ca. Simpatico is S-Y-M-P-A-T-I-C-A.ca. Okay, simpatico. I think I spelt that wrong. Let me do it again. S-Y-M-P-A-T-I-C-O.ca. I think I left out the O. Anyway, Steven Bland at simpatico.ca. And as I said, it's at the end of the video as well. And just answer some quickie 3 questions. These don't need to be long. It's up to you what you want to tell me. And you can go beyond these questions. But the questions are, number 1, give us a brief description of who you are and what you're interested in. 2, tell us about how you got into the crafting or art journaling or whatever it is that you do. And 3, what is your latest project? And if you have a website or a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that, tell us how we can connect to it. And anything else you want to tell us is fine as well. I'm hoping that many of you will do this, and each week I will feature somebody to get to know them. And as an example of this kind of thing, Jody was very kind to be my first person to profile on here. And she wrote me several emails, and we've been communicating back and forth. And Jody is MissPurplePotato, just saw her YouTube channel. And so I'm going to insert here a fairly lengthy video, about 6 minutes long, talking about Jody and also showing some of her work. So watch this. So here's our first profile, and this is by Jody, who is MissPurplePotato, and I just reviewed her YouTube channel for you. So here's what Jody wrote to me. I've done a little bit of editing of this. I hope, Jody, you don't mind, but this is very, very informative. So she starts off with, "Good morning, Stephen. Just a quick note before heading off to work. You mentioned in your New Year's Eve video that you will be reviewing my channel, MissPurplePotato. Yikes. That prompted me to gather up 60 of my latest scrapbook layouts that need to go into albums and do a flip through this weekend to show folks my style. I hope you can wait until I have it posted to do your review. The video will be called Flipping Through 60 Layouts." And yes, Jody, I did wait, and it is there, and it's great. You should check it out. And I've put the link, as you know, in the notes below. So she says a little background of who I am. I am the leader of a paper crafting group here in Colorado. We will be celebrating our 7th anniversary in March, and I currently have around 50 members. We meet monthly for 7 hours at a fire station community room where we work on our projects, have a potluck lunch, and occasionally I'll offer a make-and-take project for them. I also host 4-day weekend retreats in our mountains twice a year and organize field trips to various crafty events and shops around town, so we are a very busy and friendly group. Some of my ladies do not scrapbook. They do other paper crafting projects. We welcome everyone creative. Sounds like a great group. After I became a grandmother, my scrapbooking switched from layouts with black and white antique photos to kids' layouts. However, I would like to do a genealogy series on my channel in 2018, showing the layouts using black and white photos. I do other creative things, not just scrapbooking. So she continues on in another email and says, attached is the photo that changed my life forever, that of my grandmother who was murdered, and since I only had one photograph of her, I turned into an investigator years ago to find out what happened. I hope to do a video about this sometime this year. If it wasn't for this one photograph, I wouldn't have met the wonderful ladies that formed my group, because I acquired many more black and white family photos through my genealogy travels and thought, now what? How can I document these for future generations? If there's one thing I would love for you to mention to our YouTube community and that I speak to my group about is to please, by all means, if you have a living parent or grandparent who would be willing to sit down for a day with you and be interviewed with a tape recorder, or video if preferred, you'll be glad you did. This murder was such a mystery in my family, and now that my folks are gone, I wish I would have taken the time to interview them. And that's very true, Jody. Since I became interested in genealogy, I've interviewed other relatives and started the taped interview off with saying who I am, the date, and who I'm interviewing. I created pages of questions I wanted to ask. Examples would be their earliest memories, what their parents were like, birthday parties or events they remembered, school years, occupations, marriages, etc. Life in general. To have a loved one's voice recorded is priceless. It takes me about 2 to 3 hours per interview with no interruptions. In this busy life we all have now, some may say they don't have the time, and that is very sad to me. If my 32-year-old son came to me today and asked if he could interview me, I would be so flattered that he would take an interest. On a lighter note, below is a link to a fun little video I did a few years back creating poppets for my ladies using strips of bendable metal used in roofing that was easy to work with and super cheap. You should make one for yourself and Walter for your studio. And she gave me the link to this, and I've watched it, and I've put the link below, and it is a really creative and fun-looking project. And so, yes, Jody, I think I may give that a go at some point in time. Further on, Jody mentions how she got into scrapbooking originally. She says, in the 1980s, I walked into a scrapbook store and thought it was the dumbest thing ever, just pasting photos onto a piece of paper and putting stickers around it. Boring. Today I realize it is so much more involved than that, and by meeting others with the same hobby, I have made valuable, long-lasting friendships, and we learn from each other. I inherited a lot of ladies to my group when the local scrapbook stores started to close. They were grateful to find my group, and I welcomed them with open arms, and when they learned we were also going on a 4-day retreat occasionally, well, it has been quite wonderful. Jody says she worries about the millenniums not printing out their photos. She says they have a saying, don't let your kids grow up to be JPEGs. I think that's a really clever saying. Thank God the people I met in my search with genealogy had printed photos that they gave me or I scanned. Having something tangible, something you can hold and see the stories unfold through memory keeping, is simply priceless. I had to be evacuated from my home 4 years ago because of a fire in the neighborhood. My scrapbooks were the first thing I took, filling up my back seat. Priceless is what these albums are. I started with one tiny wallet-sized photo of my grandmother and found out how and why she was murdered in 1933, and through connecting with others, I now have about 20 photos of her, which I'm so grateful for. That one tiny wallet-sized photo changed my entire life, answered questions about relatives and why they were the way they were. It has also opened up a whole new world of creativity through memory keeping and long-lasting wonderful friendships through the group I started up. I created alone for about a year and thought, I wonder if I found a place to hold a monthly get-together if anyone would come. Well, they sure did, and the rest is history. Our hobby is extremely important for future generations. I don't want my grandchildren to look at themselves on a phone. My hope when I pass away is that the endless hours I spend putting together my albums will be cherished and something they can show their own children someday. And I think that would be a wonderful, lasting legacy, Jody. So thank you, Jody, for taking the time to tell me a little bit about yourself and giving me details about not just scrapbooking, but genealogy and other creative ideas as well. And as I've said before, if you would like me to talk about you on this vlog, then please send me an email. Let me know what your interests are, what your hobbies are, your philosophy about being creative, whatever you want to write. And it can be short, it can be long, it can be something in between, it doesn't matter. But I want my vlog to reach out this year to my regular subscribers and new subscribers. I want this to be a warm and friendly community where we can share and get to know each other. So thank you, Jody, for that. So as I've already mentioned, please consider sending me an email with information about yourself and your interests. Use those guide questions below to help you out with that. And don't be shy. Don't be shy, okay? I believe that everybody has talents. And you know, if you don't talk about yourself, who is going to talk about you? And I don't mean that in a vain way. Just in a friendly, creates community, helps us get to know one another in this media form. Okay, so other clips I've listed down below as well is there's the rebroadcast of Stephen and Walter Live that we did on Sunday. I've got 2 new videos that I put up that I made last week. They're both crap videos, creative recreation and play. Number 21 talks about using molding paste on Geliplates. So you create something that looks like this, a bas relief I call it. This is flexible molding paste or texture paste. This is some with some color added to it. The same with this. And I used rubbing plates, as you'll see in the video, and I'll show you how to create these. But these are very bendable, and I think they'd work really well on a canvas, a mixed media canvas, or you can curve them down over the sides of it as well. But anyways, I do have a video of this whole process. So that's crap video number 21. And then crap video number 2, I show you how I take you through the process of me making these collage papers, as I call them. Now I also have links below for MissPurplePotato's YouTube channel, but I also have a couple of links to her latest video, flipping through 60 layouts, she calls it, where you really get a really great look at her creativity, and her scrapbook pages are wonderful. And I showed you just a couple of them in the little profile section that I did on Jody. And also Jody made a comment about creating these things called Poppets, and she gave me the link to that. And so I've put that down below as well, and they're kind of cute. And I do want to make some of those. I got to get around to it. I'll have to get some of this metal she was talking about and check that out. So all those links are there for you to check out. Okay, so what's pissing me off this week? Well, I don't want to belabor this one because I think I mentioned something about this once before. But this week I noticed, you know how if you go on to like Ken's Creations or Melody Lane or some of those ones, and if to do with Cricut supplies, they have a code usually. They have some special deal with companies that they profile on their YouTube channels. And you put in that code and you usually get about 15% off. I use Ken's Creations all the time with Cricut products. It's KK15, or it used to be KK15, and it got you 15% off and free shipping. And that was great. Now Ken and Melanie and the others have just announced that as far as Cricut is concerned, they have a new code. Ken's is KK15, 10. So you no longer get 15%, you only get 10%. And I wonder about this. Now, this has nothing to do with Ken's Creations or Melody Lane or any of the others. This is what Cricut has imposed upon them. And basically, they're giving us less, is the way I look at it. And this annoys me. Cricut especially is a company that has been well supported by those of us that use the Cricut systems. We say great things about their products. They get all kinds of free advertising from all of us. And I also am a member. I have Cricut Access, which I pay like $11.99 Canadian a month for. So, you know, I support them. And I think they're a wonderful manufacturer, and their products are great. I love them. I use Cricut faux leather on that little journal I showed you about, and I believe in it. And if I didn't believe in a product, I wouldn't tell you about it. I wouldn't support it. But what's annoying me is the fact that now they've dropped the discount. Now, that says to me, that's just greed. That's just greed, because they've made a lot of money off of their machines and their supplies for it. When they released last year the Cricut Maker, they were just flying off the shelf. No two ways about it. So why have they decided to drop down 15% to 10%? I know it's only 5%. It doesn't make a huge difference, but every little bit counts. And so I'm just thinking, well, geez, isn't that just being greedy? Are you not just being another business that, I know you got to make money, but really, okay? So anyways, but then I also saw a video that Ken's Creations did about a new product from Ranger. Now, I love Ranger products as well. Ranger products, they're the company that make all of Tim Holtz's products as well, and lots of others like Dina Reevely, Diane Wakely, or Diane Reevely and Dina Wakely, whatever. I get those two names mixed up all the time, but you know what I mean. And I think their products are quality. So they've come out with a new product, and Ken was reviewing it, and it's called Letter It. And it's a whole system of rubber stamps and perfect pearls and embossing powders and stuff like this for, you know, creating word art in a sense. Well, none of those products are new. They've been repackaged, new packaging for them, new distribution numbers, like, you know, you can get 4 of the perfect pearls in this color family, 4 in another color family. They do have some new text rubber stamps, but they're not anything fantastic. There's been lots of these kind of brush stroke lettering kind of things by other manufacturers as well. So basically what's pissing me off is companies that try to take old products that may not be selling as well anymore. They've been around for a while. People, you know, have used it, are done with it, kind of a thing. Repackage it and try to push it off as being something new. And lots of companies do this, and not just in the crafting community. I mean, every time you see a cereal box that says new and improved flavor, or new and improved cleaning power, or our best yet, those are all media ploys for selling a product that probably hasn't changed. They're just repackaging it to make it seem new. And that's what Ranger's doing. Now, what's really pissing me off about this is, why are they doing this? Ranger is a solid company. They've been around for years. I know that CHA, or whatever they call it now, is about to come up, Creativation, or whatever they give a new name for, where they, you know, big thing they have down in the States where they show all the new products that every manufacturer is coming out with. And I love watching the YouTube videos that come out from that and checking it all out. And I have to say that usually I make a wish list of things that I want from that. But what's making me think is that Ranger hasn't got anything really new. Now, maybe they are, maybe they will have, maybe they'll show some new stuff at CHA. But it's making me a little worried that what they're doing is repackaging old stuff and pushing it as being new. Now, it may be new to some people. Some of the people that have just got into crafting in that, this may be a way of introducing them to some, you know, solid products. I mean, I'm not saying that these are not good products that they've repackaged. They are. I've got lots of perfect pearls. Probably should get them out and use them again. Haven't used them in a while. So they're not like, these are good products. So maybe for newbies, this will be a way of introducing them to it. But for those of us who've been around for a while, it's just the same old, just with a new package. That's all there is. So I'm wondering, is Ranger going to come out with something new? Or other manufacturers, are they going to come out with some things new that are going to get us excited about our crafting? Or what? We'll see. I suspect that Ranger is covering up for the fact that they don't really have anything that new and exciting. I could be wrong. We'll see. I hope I am wrong, because I like new things. But if they start pushing this Letterette as being a brand new sensational product, no, it's not. And quite frankly, I'm not sure what anybody can come out with that's going to be new and sensational, because I think the market is saturated. So things are just a variation on a theme anymore. But anyways, so what's pissing me off? Well, really, bottom line is how these companies use the media to make us think we're getting something new when it's just the same old thing in a new package. Okay? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about techniques and products and new stuff. So, I've been talking about quilting, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot because I am bitten by the quilting bug. I love quilting. I'm still learning, and in the process of learning, I have discovered a couple of stores that I did not know existed before because I wasn't into quilting, that are in my area. So I went to them on the weekend, and oh my God, I was just overwhelmed by what's available and the whole bit. Now, one of these stores I went to called Ultimate Sewing, it's in my town, and so if you're from this area, it's in Oshawa. Great store. The fabric selection is fantastic. Prices aren't bad. Where I was buying my fabric, they really didn't have a really great selection of prints for quilting. They have a whole quilting section, but the stuff was kind of blasé and expensive, $22 to $26 a meter. Whereas this store had everything under the sun, some really great fabrics, and their prices were a little bit less. I mean, when you're talking fabric, it's going to be expensive anyways, yes, but the selection was what got me. Not only that, but and even more so, is that the ladies who run this store, who work there, couldn't have been nicer. You know, a lot of people associate quilting with women. There are lots of men quilters out there. We all know that. But I have been subject to sexism when I've gone into crafting stores that don't know who I am or that I'm a crafter. First thing they do is they walk up to me and say, "Oh, looking for something for your wife?" And it's as though I look like I know nothing. And then I very quickly inform them that I am a crafter, that I do these kind of things and whatnot. And then their attitude does change. But it's that initial attitude that you're a guy, what are you doing here, kind of a thing. I expected that that was the attitude I was going to get at this quilt shop. No, I did not. I got the exact opposite. They were warm, they were friendly, they were helpful. I showed you that binding I was trying. I mentioned it to one of the ladies that was talking to me about various things in quilting, and she said, "Oh, come with me." Took me over to her sewing machine. She happened to be making some placemats, and she was putting the binding on them. She showed me right there and then what to do. That was really nice of her. I mean, she's busy. It's her store. I'm not paying anything for this, and yet she showed this to me. So, I mean, immediately that made me want to be more involved with this store. So I asked her about classes, and yes, they have a lot of classes, and they also teach you how to use your sewing machine or your serger as well. And they're having an open house this coming Saturday, and I'm going to go to it because they're going to reveal all their upcoming classes. And she did mention to me that they had some beginner quilter classes that would be happening in probably about April, which is perfect timing for me because I'll be away for the month of February and part of March. And so that got me really excited. I ended up spending about 140 bucks in that store. I bought some fabulous fabrics in there. I bought some other notion items as well. So I was really, really impressed. Then I went to this other store and I was almost equally impressed. The lady there, I think she was the owner, very helpful as well. Didn't seem to have as as large a selection of fabrics, but what the fabrics she did have were very nice. And of course, she runs classes as well. And when I bought some rulers and things from her, and while I was at the checkout, I noticed she had this book that was all bundled up with a bunch of fabrics, and it was for starting quilting. It says start quilting, and this Alex Anderson, I have since found out, is sort of a very popular figure in the quilting community, and she has YouTube videos as well. And so I said to the lady, I said, so for someone like me who's just starting out, is this something that I could do? And she said, oh yeah. She says, this woman is great. The instructions are very clear. They're great for first-time quilters and the whole bit. And it came with all the material. So I thought, you know, it's pricey, $77, but the fabrics were really nice. They were designed by someone called, she told me this person's name, Cafe Facet, I think. I have since looked him up, and I guess he's a big designer of material, of fabric, and he's a knitter, apparently, as well. He's very, very famous in the crafting world. So I checked out YouTube videos about him as well, and the fabrics are very, very nice. She also said, though, that she teaches a class using this actual book and the fabrics, and she didn't have a date for when that class would start up again. So I said to her, well, I'd be interested in the class, but I said, in the meantime, I want to get started, so can I do this? And she says, oh yeah, sure. And she said, if you have any problems, just come into the store and I'll show you how to fix them up or whatever. Again, very friendly, very warm, very inviting. Not a problem that I was a man. So she showed me the quilt. This actually, this whole book shows you how to do various types of standard blocks, but then it shows you how to put those blocks together to create this quilt. And this is a picture, hold it up the right way. This is a picture of the quilt, and I am making this. Now my materials, I think my fabric might look slightly different from these, although I'm not sure, maybe it is the same. So I'm working on the blocks right now. I'm a little worried about the binding and the borders, but the book is supposed to take me through that and help me out. And so far, it has been very helpful. And I actually saw this quilt in the store. She had made it. It's not a huge quilt, although it's a little bigger than what I would consider a lap size, but smaller than a bedspread size. So it might be a little over ambitious. I don't know for me at this stage, but I'm going to give it a shot. You know me, in for a penny, in for a pound kind of a thing. So I want to show you my blocks, some that I have. Now this takes, I think, 25 blocks, something like that. And I've made 15 of them so far. And there's various designs. So far I've done 3 different designs. This is called, just looking at my note here, these are called rail fence blocks. They're the ones I did first. They're the easiest. They're just strips of fabric sewn together, and you make your blocks. And you can see here that they are different designs, or well, different material, put it that way. And all this material came with the book. And don't mind me for just a second, because I want to keep my blocks organized. I have them all clipped in groups, and a little sticky note on them too, so I know which ones I have. And so that was the first set of blocks I made. The second set, not that difficult either, a little more fiddly because they are 9 square patches. And so you can see, and I think I had to make 5 of these. I had to make 8 of the other one. There's different numbers of these. And then yesterday I was working on the third set, and the third set is the most, no, sorry, this wasn't, well, this was a little bit more complicated, a little bit more fiddly, because this is called the 9 patch variation. And so you see you have these little 1.5 inch patches up here in the corners and the bigger ones. But I'm very proud of this. Now the other ones I'm working on right now are something called the log cabin design. So those of you that are quilters I know would know what these all are, but I'm just learning it. And this was the only block pattern so far that I have found the instructions not that clear about. But I think I have figured it out, and I've got one of those made, and I'm going to make some more later today after I get this vlog finished and get on with it. So I don't know how long it's going to take me to make this quilt, but I'm enjoying it. I'm learning an awful lot about my sewing machine and how it works. For example, I had bought a what's called a 1/4 inch foot, supposed to help you make your seams straight, your 1/4 inch allowance, seam allowance. And when I first got that foot and put it on, it worked fine. Got it out the other day, and my needle's hitting it. And I'm going, well, why is it doing that? It didn't do that before. And I thought, have I put it on right? I double checked that, got out the instruction manual, looked it over, couldn't figure it out. Put my standard foot back on. Standard foot worked fine. And then I realized something. I was watching a video and they were talking about moving your needle to the left or something. And I thought, well, can I move the needle on my sewing machine? Because if I could move my needle on my sewing machine, I would probably avoid this problem. Yeah, I can. Helps to read the manual. So once I figured out that I had it set for the left side, and that's why it was hitting the foot, because the hole was in the center of the foot, when I hit the right button and put it in the center, it works like a charm. So you see, you should really read the manual, but I don't read manuals. I just kind of glance at them. But I'm learning. So there you go. So I do want to take some classes from both of these ladies actually, but definitely from the first store I told you about, because they just made me feel so welcomed. In fact, they talked about they were having a retreat. It's the first one they've ever designed. It's about an hour and a half away from where I live, and when they have it, and it's being run when we're away in Australia, so I can't go to it, but it's a 3-day retreat. And I said, well, I'm just a rank beginner here. I said, I don't think I would have the confidence to go to something like that. And the lady said, you don't have to worry about that. She says, quilters are the friendliest people on the face of the planet. She said, everybody helps everybody else, and you would learn so much. And you know, if those ladies at the retreat are like the ladies in this store, then I think I would feel very comfortable amongst them, and I'd probably learn quite a bit. But unfortunately, that retreat is being held when we're away, so I'll have to wait until there's another one, and maybe by then I'll have a little bit more confidence in what I'm doing. So I will keep you posted as to my quilting journey here. That's what seems to be filling up a lot of my time these days. Well, I'm enjoying it, as you can tell. Okay, so what else? Let's get away from quilting. Let's talk about some new mediums I've just got and want to play with. First of all, there's a form of painting called impasto. It's usually done with oil, and the oil is usually mixed with something like cold wax or something like that to make it form peaks. You know, it's the kind of thing that people scrape onto their canvas and build, you know, peaks and valleys, and it's got a three-dimensional effect to it. And I wondered if you could do the same thing with acrylic paints. So what do? I go to YouTube and do a search, and yes, you can, but you need something that's called thickening gel. Now, Liquitex makes it, apparently, according to the YouTube video. So I went to my art supply store and asked about it, and they didn't have the one by Liquitex, but they had a product that's the same thing, just a different name, by Golden, called Extra Heavy Gel Medium. And this, you just mix into your acrylic paints, and you have impasto. And away you go. Now, I haven't used it yet, although I have put it on a little sample board to show you what it looks like, and I'll show that to you in a minute because I want to show you a couple of other products first. But I'm going to give it a try for abstract kind of painting. And then while I was in the art store, I mean, I just can't go in and get one thing. I have to look around, right? So I'm looking around for other products, and I love chemicals. I love machines and I love chemicals. Excuse me. Speaking of chemicals, I have to have my caffeine. So I'm looking about and I find this little jar called Gold Mica Flake, small. And it's basically what it says. It's sort of a paste with mica flakes in it. Now it dries clear and all you can see is the gold. And I thought, well, that might be really interesting effect. There's a little sample of it on the side of the jar here. And again, I'll show you in a minute my little board where I've put out a sample so you get a better idea. But I thought this could be really cool on a mixed media piece. And then, of course, I found this. it says cold press ground, and it was in with the watercolors, and says it's watercolor kind of thing. And I thought, I wonder what this stuff does. And they had a little sample of it, and what it's supposed to do is I think you can mix it with watercolor paint or use it just on its own. And the light's kind of shining on it. It's hard to get in here, but it's kind of a pasty kind of thing. And when it dries, it gives a texture sort of like a homemade paper. So I took these 3 products and spread them out on a little canvas board to show you. And again, well, obviously you can see the mica one. And that's really cool. And it's got texture to it as well. This is this cold press grounds, which, there, hold it up a little closer. You can see the little ridges and stuff. It looks fibrous almost, and it does feel like handmade paper. So I thought that would give a really interesting background on an art journal page. And then this is, in its raw form, the heavy gel medium that you could use for impasto. And you can see right here, it's got the ridges and that into it, and it dries relatively clear, and you can tint that with your paste. Well, that's what you're supposed to, or with your paint. You're meant to mix your acrylic paints in with it. Now, as I said, this is as far as I've got with these products. I will be trying them in the future on different projects, and I'll show those to you when I do those, and so you can see what these are all about. And what else? Okay, so that's new stuff that I've gotten this week, and let's talk about some inspiration here. Well, first of all, I showed you these. I call them bas reliefs because that's what they remind me of, and that's just with molding paste. Now, it has to be flexible molding paste because otherwise it would crumble, but that's, you know, I think there's a lot of things you could do here. This is like a skin. I think if you used a rubber stamp, I used rubbing plates in it, and they aren't that deep, so it kind of, when they pulled out from it, it pulled up the peaks. So I used actually 3 different rubbing plates, one on this one on this one, and one on this one. But as you can see, there's not really a major difference in them. But I think if I used a rubber stamp with some really well-defined edges to it in the rubber, I think I might be able to do an impression out of that. So that might be cool. Future inspiration or future project. And then I saw a Vicky Bouton's technique. It was her showing it, and you know I've talked about Vicky before. She's Canadian, and I have some of her products, and I like her products for the most part. And she has these glazes, and one of these glazes is iridescent, so it's sort of a clear, shiny glaze when it dries. She was showing how to tint it to make it into a specific color using her crayons. She has water-soluble crayons, and I've reviewed those before on one of my vlogs way back. And basically, the technique is you shave off a little bit of the crayon, mix it into some of the iridescent medium, and because the crayons are water-soluble and the iridescent medium, or iridescent glaze, that's what it's called, is wet, it dissolves the crayon and it colorizes it, and then you can spread it through a stencil or paint it on or do whatever. So I thought that's kind of a cool technique. I might give that a try on an art journal page or something at some point in time. So those are my inspiration ideas this week. So what else has happened this week? Well, not a heck of a lot. I've been too busy quilting. We did do RMG Fridays, which is the art gallery that we volunteer at, and we were there as or as gallery attendants, basically, you know, chopping off people's hands if they get too close to the artwork, or if they're got a wine glass in their hand where they're not supposed to. Walter just loves getting those people. I tend to not see that, but then my job there is attendant, but also to be an educator, to talk about some of the art with them. And I had some interesting conversations with a few people on Friday night, which really helped the time to go by, because, I don't know, being a gallery attendant really isn't the most exciting thing on the face of the planet. I like to be involved with the patrons when they come and talk about some of the art and that kind of stuff. But while we were there, I ran into a gentleman who's off to Australia a couple of weeks after we go, and so we were sharing. You know, his son works in Melbourne, is a teacher in Melbourne, and they're going to visit him as well, and they're doing a cruise, a New Zealand cruise, which very similar to the one we did a year ago. So we had a really nice conversation about that. And I always learn something too from the people I talked to in the art gallery. There was one gentleman there who had a fairly extensive art background, so he taught me a few things about some of the pieces of work there as well, which I found very interesting and informative, and I can use that information when I talk to people as well. So it was a fun night to that point. Well, it was an educational evening, I should say. And let's see. Yeah, so that was about the highlight of the week, I guess. And then what's coming up? Well, I already mentioned the Ultimate Sewing Store, their open house, which I'm really excited about to see more things they'll have on display and check out their classes and things like that. And I might buy an iron from them. They had this iron. I've seen them on YouTube videos. I forget what the name of the company is, but it's a very reputable company. I think it's a European company. But these irons, now maybe some of you will laugh at this because you know this and it's like, oh, really, Stephen, where have you been? Kind of a thing. Got to remember, I'm new to sewing and I don't iron, okay? But I have an iron I use for crafts, but it's kind of crappy. And so this iron I'm looking at is when you sit it down on its hot bottom, within a second or two, it pops up. So you never have to worry about putting it in a stand or sitting it upright. You just put it down, it pops up. And I think that's cool. Plus, it seems to be the iron of choice for quilters because you do a lot of pressing and quilt making. So during their open house, maybe they'll have a sale on some things. Maybe those will be on sale. And even if they're not, I think I'll buy one anyways. They're not a cheap toy. They were about $130, $120, $130 for one of them. But, you know me, it's a machine. And I never do anything halfway measures. I never cheap out on it. So quilting's an expensive hobby. Might as well have expensive equipment. Which if you saw Stephen and Walter live last night, I was talking about my new rotary cutter, which is by a company called Olfa. Ofla? Is it O-F-L-A or O-L-F-A? One or the other. I'd look it up for you, except that that's way over on the other side of the room, and I'd have to get off my stool and unplug my microphone to get it, so I'm not going to get it. But anyways, it's great. It was expensive. I went to Michael's originally to buy the new Fiskars one that has a handle that goes in 3 different positions and whatnot. I have a Fiskars rotary cutter and it's been good, but I don't know if it's me or what, but it seems to leave like parts of your material when you cut through it, just a couple of strands of thread attached still, and you have to go in and sort of do it again or take your scissors and clip it out, and I find that kind of annoying. And I haven't had that one very long, so I don't think the blade is dull because it hasn't cut that much material. And I only cut fabric with it because I know if you cut paper with something like that with scissors or with a rotary cutter that you will dull the blades. So I'm very careful about that. I have my scissors for paper, I have my scissors for fabric, and my rotary cutters for fabric. So I thought, well, I've got a coupon, 45% off coupon. I will use that at Michael's and get this Fiskars one. And Fiskars is a good name. I have Fiskars paper trimmers, I've had Fiskars scissors, they've all been good in the past. So I'm looking at the Fiskars one there, and then I see this one by this other company, and because of my experiences with the quilting stores, I know this is a name that is reputable in the quilting community. And it looked like it was $3 cheaper than the Fiskars one, $46.99 as opposed to $49.99. So I grabbed it. I have my coupon. I get up to the checkout, she punches it in, and this is typical Michael's because they don't put any prices on any of their products. It's all on the shelf. But people move things around on the shelf, and if you're not careful, something will be hanging in one spot and you think it's that price, but it turns out to be a different price, and that's what happened to me with this rotary cutter. So instead of it being $46.99, it was $71.99. And I went, woo, expensive. But I had the 45% off coupon. So I bit the bullet and bought it. And I am so glad I did. It just cuts through fabric like butter. It's wonderful. And multiple layers of fabric, no problem. Well worth it. The only thing I'm worried about is keep my fingers away from it, because if it goes through fabric like that, I think it could go through my finger like that too. So it's one of my greatest fears in this whole adventure I'm starting out on here in quilting. 1, losing a finger to a rotary cutter, and 2, piercing my finger with the sewing machine, because I'm prone to accidents. Okay, so I'm really trying to be careful about all that kind of thing. So anyways, that was what's coming up, everything. Okay, well, this has gone on for long enough, a little longer today. I hope you had your coffee for all of this. And just a final note here. Many of you have reached out to me and written really nice comments about my vlogs, about my videos, about Stephen and Walter Live. And I really appreciate the kind words and the encouragement that you have given me over the past year. And I don't do this for praise. I do it because I like to share my projects. It's the teacher in me. I like to help other people out the best I can, and in turn they help me out too. But it's always nice to know that you're appreciated. It does feed your ego a little bit, and yeah, it makes me feel good when people do that. And it also creates, again, I'll go back to this idea of this sense of community that I'm hoping that my vlogs and my channel creates for you. And when people reach out to me and say nice things, or give me a compliment, or, you know, just say, like some people say they have their morning coffee with me on my vlog, so that makes me really happy. Okay, so thank you for those comments. Yeah, because I do this because I love doing it. Okay, and I'm hoping in this year, no resolutions here, because, you know, I don't make resolutions, but I am hoping in this next year that, now that I've done this for a while, as far as vlogs are concerned, that I can be a little bit more inventive in them. I can reach out. The profiles is a new way of reaching out, something new in that. And I always want to be, you know, trying new things with you. So thanks for your support. And there'll be a Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday. And so I hope you can join us. If you've never joined a Stephen and Walter Live, grab a martini, or a beer, or a glass of wine, or a coffee, or a pop, or as you Americans call it, soda, and join us. Because I never know what we're going to be talking about, but it's always, at least I find it entertaining, and I think you do as well. Okay, so that's enough. I'm rambling here. So thanks for watching, and have a great week, and we'll see you Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday, or next Monday for my next vlog. Bye-bye for now.